Namaste. Why diatomaceous earth? So we're not actually reading out on diatomaceous earth, we're reading out on silica. So you can kind of see it at the bottom there. And when you stir it up, it mixes in with the drink. It's kind of this is what it is, which is like the picture on the thumbnail. And we have it with 100% pure, raw, organic spring honey, unheated, unpasteurized, unfiltered, unprocessed, unblended from the EU. And it comes really quickly, and it's really cheap. So this is 1.5 kilograms. We probably get for about one of them a week. We do have a sweet tooth. But we learned something yesterday. Or no, a few days ago, with the posts we've been doing lately. I think it was the chemistry of Jane 108 on the molecular structure of something that contained the molecular structure of a chlorophyll, and how that makes sugars. And someone inside was like, you know, that's meaningful. So I don't know if we're gonna the sweet tooth yet. Anyway, we have it with organic Biona cider vinegar with the mother, unpasteurized, unfiltered, and oak matured. Oak's one of the wisest, oldest healing trees. So there's lots of ancient knowledge in oak. So anything with oak in is amazing anyway. And the mother's the live bacteria, so that's great for your live bacteria in your guts, all that acidiphilophysis and I'm not going to say that because we always say syphilis, but that's not what we mean, stuff. But you also need the prebiotics as well, which is the fibers. They both work together. So we got about 25. It's really, really beneficial to have cider vinegar at night as well before you go to sleep. But this is why we're changing up our evening patternings, because the younger alters, well, no, I don't think it's the younger ones, because the younger ones are normally out in the morning. Alters don't necessarily, they get tired, but they stay up late, but they don't have the drive or want to necessarily do hugely beneficial things, but their patterning is changing. So that's why we're doing the 108 days self-healing reading, which has been immense. And we're only on the 6th day tonight. So we're reading about silica, because diatomaceous earth is 89% silica, which is the foundation of life, and it's food grade silica, which is the finer crystals. We've put some information in the about info section, which we're not going to read out. So if you want to read that, that just says some benefits, like it's fine fossilized hooks, and it clears the mucus out of your guts and your intestines, so therefore it enables them to function better. It enables you and helps you to digest proteins. Now, if you really get into the biochemistry of the body and the cells and stuff, there's loads of proteins in the body. So it helps you digest your food. It helps give you regular bowel movements and healthy bowel movements. Teeth, bones, hair, absorbs some of the heavy toxins in the body. There's so many benefits. The study and the website we put in does say that there hasn't been any much research or articles done on it, but we're providing information that is our truth, that we use and we have been using now for like almost 4 years, that is healing us. And we have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, autism, fibromyalgia, postural orthotic trachea syndrome, which is POTS, which has got heaps better. We're autistic, processing language disorder, dissociative identity disorder, loads of labels, but it makes for a really rare, unique package. And we're sharing that the academia and the science and the survey has benefits, but it's not the complete truth. It's not all the truth, and it's not the be all and end all. And this is where the layman, the ordinary person sharing their stories, comes into play for other people to listen, to get to know their truth inside, so that they then know what their truth resonates with other people's truths, and then they can tell whether that other person's truth is going to be harmonic to them. So it's not that, so there's many truths within the one truth, because the one truth is very fundamental, very energetic, and very hard to put into words and describe to people. So everyone uses different words, different languages, depending what culture they're from and the way they put words together, etc., and their definition, attachment, and understanding to a word. Because words also have triggers in them depending on the connotation, which goes back to numbers, which can relate to age, to when any kind of trauma happens. And trauma is any kind of trauma, be it small or large. So we're talking about the silica and sharing this article on silica. Sadly, hopefully it will say in it, because I can't tell you. There's normally, it prints at the top websites and details and times and dates, but there's nothing on this one. So our detective abilities flaw in giving you more information on where this comes from. So anyway, silica. Let's have a little bit more of this silica. So we think of silica being the material that you use to build the roads, build the highways. And then your minerals are the lorries that you put on the roads, and your vitamins are what are in the lorries that get travelled to each destination, each part of the body that needs that particular vitamin, etc. So we have it, and in our mind of our present state awareness is that it's helpfully building our fascia, our ligaments, not just our bones, on a fundamental basic level. And Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a connective tissue disorder. It's a malfunction of the collagen protein, which doesn't just mean you can take collagen proteins. It's not a deficient collagen, it's a malfunction. So it doesn't matter how much collagen's in you, it's just the way the collagen is being functioned, produced, put together, the whole system of the process of the collagen. And that's the elasticity of the skin, etc., etc. But we're going to have bits of information on each, and it will all come together. Silica. In 1966, Professor Kervran gave birth, and that's spelled, in case you want to look it up, Kervran, or in case we pronounced it wrong, gave birth to a new science called biological transmutation. He started as a young man, as a young scientist living in Brittany. Our Celtic bits are. We were born in Wales, moved to Cornwall when we were 1, and we've got an Irish-Canadian passport, and went to Brittany loads when we were a kid. And we cycled on a Great Land's End, so we've covered a lot of the Celtic areas, and we love the Celts, are very influential. He lived in a part of the country that had no limestone, no calcium deposits in the soil there, and very high in slate and flint stone and mica. These are high silica elements. And he observed the chickens in the yard and how they pecked incessantly at mica, M-I-C-A. Pronouncing it mica, it could be mica. And he observed how they laid eggs with hard shells. He saw the calcium, and he observed how his mother cut open the chickens and cut open the gizzard. But there was just sand left behind from the mica, just the sand from the mica, and the silica aspect was gone. So I'm going to read that again. But there was just sand left behind from the mica, just the sand from the mica, and the silica aspect was gone. So that's repeated twice. I don't know if that's meant to be like that or it's a grammatical error. So what we've also learned along our way is the body's capable of making so many things. So our body can make calcium. So if our body can make calcium, why do we need to take calcium supplements? Don't we need to take supplements that, or whatever it is that makes the calcium? Unless our body's, again, malfunctioning and making the calcium. But then taking calcium supplements isn't necessarily going to work, and that causes calcification. So when you get kidney stones and all these lumps and everything everywhere, that's a calcium buildup because it's a man-made or a different type of calcium that's going into the body. So yeah, we get down to the fundamentals of making the body function itself, what it's meant to do on its own. He became so obsessed understanding science, like how could a chicken lay an egg with solid, hard calcium when there was no calcium in its diet? It just seemed impossible. This spurred lifelong work for this man, and he ended up doing controlled studies later on with chickens. For its entire life since it's formed, never been allowed calcium, yet it made eggs with hard shells. But when it takes the silica out of its diet, the shells are soft. They don't work. They don't form solid hard like those with calcium. So they don't form solid hard shells like those with calcium. It doesn't have the word shells in there, which just makes more sense to us. The inner lining of the shell has a very thin connective tissue film lining, which is made up of a lot of silica. So Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a connective tissue disorder. We call it, the connective tissue is the fascia, and it's the matrix of the body. So if you were to take everything in the body away, apart from your fascia, your connective tissue, you would be left with this most amazing, multi-dimensional cling film kind of phyllo pastry led spider web of fascia, and all these the channels that all the electricity, the electromagnetic energy travels down the circuitry of your body. It's the wiring of your body for the electromagnetic energy to travel through. And that's where EDS is a malfunction of the connective tissue. So you can see where we're getting our information and putting it all together. And this is what we've done our whole life, no matter what it is we're doing. And we're gaining a lot more trust in it. Now we're starting to understand the younger alters and their ways more, since this has all been brought up into the conscious awareness. Because yesterday we were talking about yoga, but we didn't say what yoga does. Is we have in the body, there's voluntary muscles, which are the muscles that are conscious. So I want to go and pick up this glass. I'm voluntary, using my fingers and my thumb to pick up that glass. But then there's all your involuntary muscles, like the psoas muscle that we were talking about. So yoga's tap, and the involuntary muscles are your subconscious mind, and the voluntary muscles are your conscious mind. But then that's getting into this concept of the mind, and there's the thing of the mind and consciousness, and is it in the brain? But we believe the mind, there's a mind, a consciousness in every cell, and that's why oxygen's important, because every cell needs oxygen. And when you put all these mind consciousness of every cell together, you get a system in the body, and then when you put that together, you get the whole. So there's this building blocks of layers. And so the way that we go into debates and conversations at the moment on the conventional way needs to be adapted to accommodate this thing. And that's where we were talking about the circular system thinking, circular from linear. I want to just say that one again, because it seemed important. He became so obsessed understanding science. Like, how could a chicken lay an egg with solid, hard calcium when there was no calcium in its diet? It just seemed impossible. This spurred lifelong work for this man, and he ended up doing controlled studies later on with chickens. For its entire life, since it's formed, never been allowed calcium, yet it made eggs with hard shells. But when it takes the silica out of its diet, the shells are soft. They don't work. They don't form solid hard like those with calcium. The inner lining of the shell has a very thin connective tissue film lining, which is made up of a lot of silica. The neat thing about Professor Kervran's work is that he proved that 14 atoms of silica and 6 atoms of carbon makes 20 atoms of calcium. He took these chickens and gave them no calcium, and he watched them grow solid, hard calcium eggshells. And when he took the silica out of their diet, the eggshells would not even become solid. They were soft, couldn't form the calcium. So it's the silica that makes the calcium. So he's got the equation down, the science on how in life the source element silica creates calcium and creates the other nutrients and creates the most readily usable form of calcium. Most people think of silica as a mineral, like a trace mineral. We don't, because we said it's before the minerals. Yeah, because the minerals are truck and the silica's the road. So yeah, well done. Most people think of silica as a mineral, like a trace mineral. And up to the 50s, they believed it was just a trace mineral, that we only needed a small amount to support life. But now, with further research, silica is considered one of the top 12 elements necessary for life. So this is saying there has been research, whereas the article website we put in the notes on the information section says there hasn't been much. So everyone that writes stuff, they're doing it to the best of their ability and their truth, but not everyone knows how to research properly, or where to get this information or that information, or the research doesn't know how to do what you do, like on YouTube, to get the stuff out there. Like, we don't know how to do it. You know, you've got to do certain things to get the information out there, put it in certain places so that it become mainstream or widespread. So there's this separation or lapse in communication or things. Blah blah blah. I think you get what we're talking about. If you don't, well, we'll become more clear next time we talk about it, because we'll have to watch it back for that to happen. So yeah, so most people think of silica as a mineral, like a trace mineral, and up to the 50s they believed it was just a trace mineral, that we only needed a small amount to support life. But now, with further research, silica is considered one of the top 12 elements necessary for life. And as we always say, 12 is the number of male complex stability. Silica orchestrates all the other minerals in growth and development. Silica is major for growth and development. Silica is an important part of building bone matter. Without it, calcium goes elsewhere to potentially calcify in the soft tissue of inner artery walls and the heart. This is where we've got a lot of our information from, and why we've just been doing all that information's come to us about the molecular structure of chlorophyll. It's going into the atoms that's in it, bringing up the magnesium, because it's put all the stuff together to do with that shadow shooting star thing that we went on about. It's fascinating, the subconscious mind. It truly is. And we've not done any of the mind stuff. My mum did a psychology degree, and I think that probably sent her over the edge because she went into the academic side of it and then couldn't correlate it and integrate it into her own belief systems and understandings from her grounded nature intuitive levels. Whereas we've not done any of that. So again, it's our smart ass alters knowing it probably send us over the edge as well. But our auntie left us whatever books we wanted of hers in her will. I'm pretty sure that's what she said because we got really excited, although we've not been well enough to get over there for it. So we are going to get all these books, but we'll have a very strong intuitive knowing of our sense of whatever. So then when we read the books, we just read the information, and some stuff you just know it resonates straight away, and other stuff makes us question, and then we question it, meditate, breath work, blah blah, and then the answers of the clarity eventually comes in. And it's getting a lot quicker. I mean, it used to take years, then to months, whereas now sometimes it can be quite quick, although I don't know what quick is because we're obviously not in a brain network that understands time right now, because that's made us really confused. So we're going to read again. Silica orchestrates all the other minerals in growth and development. Silica is major for growth and development. Silica is an important part of building bone matter. Without it, calcium goes elsewhere to potentially calcify in the soft tissue of inner artery walls and the heart. Because if you think about the matrix, it's like Velcro. So one Velcro is soft and the other one's hook, and they join together. But the calcium needs to join onto something. So if there's something there doesn't have the structure for the calcium to hook onto and join onto, it's not going to work. But of course, we know that silica's loads of little tiny fossilized hooks like the Velcro. Oh, guys, you're amazing with the way you put sewing machines and sewing and all these, what are they, metaphors, analogies, examples together. Silica is an important part of building bone matter. Without it, calcium goes elsewhere to potentially calcify in the soft tissue of the inner artery walls and the heart. We've read that 3 times now, I think, so that must have been important. Silica is the second most abundant element in nature after oxygen. In the human body, we have all this silica when we're young, all this health and all this softness and pliability. We have strong bones growing. The bones have strength and flexibility. And yeah, we talk about when our body's strong, flexible and balanced, because the one metaphor, along with a few other different ones, or analogy or phrase or whatever, was once we are strong, flexible and balanced in body, rather than this extreme flexibility, which has broken the boundaries, broken the ligaments, and complete tightness, rigidity, because everything in the body works on a stress and tension, like guide ropes of a tent. If a tent's guide ropes and it's windy, parts of the tent become slack. But if you have the tents at the right tension, then the tent's this perfect structure. But if you have different guide ropes, really tense and others light, then you have some bits tight and some bits wobbly. And if it's the old-fashioned tense of material, then the water starts seeping in. So you need that tautness of balance between the tension and the slackness, or the stress and the slackness, as some stress is good. When we look at the quality of the skin and the hair and all the joint connective tissues, it all comes down to the silica. In new life, we have an abundance of silica. Every year that we get older, we accumulate more and more calcium, and we have less and less silica. Now, as we get older, we start finding, especially with women, if you look at a graph and you see that the silica is pretty stable up to 10 years of age, and then it starts dipping down. And after 40, it's really starting to go down. And that's why we needed to start all this when we were 30. So, because we knew that how we lived life in 40s and onwards depended how we lived life in 30s, on how much easier it would be or not. And so, yeah, this has been like, one of the journeys has been a 10-year journey. And we did say that t'other day or t'other week or month that we start a new 10-year cycle. Yeah, that's right, along with all the others. Well done, my lovelies. Because, yeah, we were 40 in the psych ward in February. Great place to have your 40th, tell you. The older we get, the more we burn out our silica reserves. See, we will be the anomaly of the anomaly. Oh, that's what you were trying to say the other day when you said this is the box that thinks out of the box. You were meaning the anomaly out of the anomaly. Yeah, so most people with the graph go down, but for us, it would be the other way around because we never fit in with any of the patterns. We don't fit in with the patterns of it wrong. We don't fit in with the patterns of it right because we're always shifting and changing, and we've got so many of us inside, so it never follows any patterns. And they always tell you off for not following the patterns and not choosing one thing. But that's okay because that's what's given us the information, hasn't it? Yeah, it's a lot of emotion in that one. So what are we doing now? We're releasing the emotions. So reading this lot is bringing up old stuff, but releasing emotions. So we're releasing the toxins in the body that aren't on a physical or chemical level, but on an emotional and mental level. And we have our moon board, which we've created now here. So on the top, you have the Gemini eclipse full moon energies. So it's a Gemini, I think. It was a beaver moon of creation, a full moon of power, and it's the lunar god, the masculine. A full moon eclipse, its conclusions are within reach. Disseminating moon is what happens after a full moon when the moon starts waning, getting smaller. Take time to breathe out. Gemini is mutable. And mutable is in the middle of a season. So your cardinal starts off the season, beginnings, initiation. The mutable is the end of the season, because that's when it has to be adaptable to the season that it's in, changing, getting ready for the next season. And the fixed is the one in the middle. Nothing's yet set in stone. Full moon in Gemini specifically is the answers you need are coming. And then because eclipses are what you need the south node and north node. So the south node is don't let your past hold you back. And the north node is step out of your comfort zone and your life's purpose. And the south node is also your life's debt. And they got numbers on it. So yesterday, or was it the day before? I think it was yesterday we moved into Virgo, but it might have been the day before. And Virgo's I analyze. But as we learned yesterday in the systems thinking, analyze is the masculine energy of the part, where synthesize is the feminine energies, where you put all the parts together to function as a whole. The third quarter moon, we went into it at the early hours of this morning, like about 15 minutes past midnight. You'll have to go onto our Shinto Self-Empowerment page. The information's on the last Virgo moon, Sagittarius Sun transit. And I think there's something else in there, an exercise in there, breathing exercise or something. So the third quarter moon, adjustments are required, and the waning moon is what you need to release. And then at the bottom, we've got solar eclipse 44. I love the numbers. That's our 44-day meditations. And a solar eclipse represents a revolution. The kids love the cards, you see. The kids used to play memory game cards when they were younger. So all these cards are their way of learning. And a solar eclipse is the sun. The sun is the spirit, number one. The moon is the soul. Sagittarius, because it's happening in Sagittarius, because you're on the Sagittarius and the Gemini axes, which is IC, and it's the fire element of desire. And you've got the lunar eclipse up here for change, and the air element of communicating. And you've also got the full moon in Sagittarius, look at the bigger picture. So this is how the cards are what connects in the younger alters with the older alters, with the past PTSD alters, with the future psychic alters. But really get into it, time doesn't exist apart from the 3D dimension. But we won't get into all of that, and I'm not quite sure we went over there because we realized that what we're releasing before, because the Sagittarius new moon solar eclipse is a major. You've got it happens 7 days. We're on the 8th today, so it's happening in 6 days. And 7 days after, you have the winter solstice if you're on the northern hemisphere. And in between those 2 dates, you have Saturn moving into Aquarius, and then you have Jupiter moving into Aquarius. Jupiter's about expansion, the thighs, as we said, and Saturn's about the world, society, the 3D, the physical reality, and it's about contraction. So you've got that ebb and flow of contraction and expansion working together on that toroidal flow, like going round. It's the movements of the electrons around the atom, but on a macro scale of So it's a major time for reset if you're to go in with the energies, and whether you consciously dance with the circular feminine routine of lunar living and the energies of the planets and the cosmos depends on whether you have stuff hitting you head on. So if you're constantly resisting and not becoming self-aware and doing it, then you're going to get physical ailments, or you're going to have car accidents, or stuff's going to go wrong with your car, or your washing machine's going to break down. It's just going to be blah, 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 blah. But when one starts working with the energy to know, all right, these are the potentials of what could happen, we'll be aware of it. It's lessons to learn and understand the energies and the dynamics of it so that we can harmonize and balance our own circadian rhythms and cycles inside the body, and then harmonize and synchronize them with nature's rhythms and cycles, the seasons, and each cycle of the planet, the years, the decades. There's so many cycles there, the patterns. And this is, when we're talking about fractal geometry and the micro, these are the fractal geometry and macro patterns. Now, on a daily basis, we love 10 to 40 milligrams of silica a day. Okay, so we're on about, that's interesting, because we were just looking at that, our little blue spoon in there. Sometimes we do 2, but more than often we do 1, and we don't tend to have it daily. But that's 10 milliliters spoon, which I think is the same as 10 milligrams. Just cutting fingernails and hair growing and just living in general, silica is in some foods, but it's somewhat hard to absorb. We have a fair amount, so yeah, it's a good idea that we start taking more then, because it's the thing, and that might help. Okay, yeah. We have a fair amount of rapid growth and hair cell turnover in the teenage years, and then it stabilizes for a certain degree as young adults, and by the time we're 40, it's getting less. And we're losing elasticity to the skin. It's getting thinner. The hair quality and the bones are changing. The joints are changing. The way we organize our minerals, especially the main electrolytes like phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, potassium, usually involved as the underlying element here is silica. Okay, so we have to learn the difference between minerals and electrolytes then, because I know coconut water is good for electrolytes, but maybe electrolyte is just a name for a collection of specific minerals. That'd be interesting. It's part of the aging process. We have all this abundance of it when we're young, and it just goes down, and there's nothing we seem to be able to do about it. It's just part of nature. Are we showing otherwise? Oh, God. I get embarrassed by those ones. With time, we burn out the reserves of our silica, and then the minerals are not orchestrated, and the calcium is lost from the bones, and then we gain it everywhere we don't want it, and we're aging. When they look at atherosclerosis, they have done studies, and the arterial tissue in the areas where the atherosclerosis forms is 14 times lower in the silica than any other parts of arterial tissue that does not have atherosclerosis. The silica is way higher in the healthy tissue. It doesn't allow the calcium to build up and create this problem. So that's just reminding us of longshore drift in geography. The older people get, the less silica. The older people get, the less silica they get, and now the calcium is not working properly. It is not going into the bones, and it is building up in places where it is not supposed to be, like in the arteries and kidney stones. And if you look at a lot of the top degenerative diseases, like tuberculosis, and the most popular one, tuberculosis is the most popular one, with the most science and research has been proven a connection to silica deficiency. There has to be a silica deficiency in part of the body for a period of time before the problem arises. Now, over time, when our minerals go out of balance, we have more stress. We're throwing our electrolytes out of balance, and our body's trying to compensate the pH to maintain health by breaking down the bones to get calcium as fast as it can put into the bloodstream. I know one of the minerals up there says it's on the pH balance, but we don't remember which one it is, do we? You think it might be selenite. I don't think selenite's one of the minerals. That's the crystal. Selenium. Okay, we'll have to check that out and see if you're right, okay? Also, at times when the body is trying to heal an injury, moon time, when there's inflammation, it will do the same thing. It will put calcium. What time are we on now then? It's just turned moon time and it's 10:51 a.m. in the UK. Also, at times when the body is trying to heal an injury, when there's inflammation, it will do the same thing. It will put calcium there because it's trying to get an alkaline electrolyte to bring balance back. But the real healing that we need is the silica. And that's really important because inflammation is one of the main causes of all disease, the majority of diseases. And healing, it's the faulty healing of the connective tissue of the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Rah, it just makes so much sense to us. We don't have whatever. But it will come. Be patient, my wonderful ones. With women, it's a good considerable amount lower than it is with men, and this correlates with the increased risk for osteoporosis for women. And I think it's because women have to use so much silica to help create new life. And that's where we say it's the foundation of all life. And of course, women have the ability for their ligaments to stretch more. And once a month of the menstrual cycle, the ligaments stretch more. So therefore, if you think of a rubber band or something like that, the more you stretch it, the more it gets used. Or if it gets put under stress of heat or too cold, so that the temperature changes the dynamics of the force as well when it's stretching, it affects to it. And so therefore, that's why women get affected more than men, in our opinion, and basic terminology of sharing right now. For the essence, for the substance, for the change of the new life form of the baby, that they lose much more silica. If you look at diseases like tuberculosis, and whatever lobe in the chest that has the infection growing, that part will have the least amount of silica always. It's what invites the infection in. So therefore, silica stops the infections. Tuberculosis, we now know from reading that, is to do, we're thinking of ears, but I think the lobe refers to the lungs, and our experience of understanding the lungs and breathing along with the smoking in the body and the rest of it, and the importance of them. I have so many notes on so many studies of silica imbalances on just about every degenerative disease. The percentage drop of a lack of silica in certain parts of tissue and what it does on every level for cellular health, for functioning and growth, and the whole body. It's just a major element. It's different. It's an underlying factor. It's got an intelligence. Thank you, Auntie Ursula. Auntie Ursula is the ex-nun. She passed over, the one with the books. And she's the one that taught us, I'm not sure what age, but that, because we were never good at academia and always struggled with all that stuff, I think it hurt her greatly to watch us have to suffer with it all so much, because she used to teach adult education as well for people that didn't have that when they were kids. So she could foresee it. She suffered a lot as well. And we were when we went over just before she died, a year before she died, we were actually very similar in nature on a lot of the things that we suffer with. So I know that she's a major part, along with our mum, helping out with the energetics of this, even though I can't actually feel them or connect with them. There's these tiny little signs that's like, okay, yeah, she is there, or we're thinking about her. When they take, so yeah, she was the one that says there's like 7 different intelligences, and actually academia is just memory and regurgitation of someone else's experience. So to us, that's not a true intelligence. It's only a true intelligence once someone understands that from a whole body level. So it's about bringing the theory into the brain and then integrating it into the body through breath work and body work to then create pure wisdom knowledge. And there's like hand-eye coordination, there's emotional intelligence, which I know lots of scientists and stuff say it's pseudoscience and the rest of it, but they just quite frankly need to take a look at their own belief systems. And we have great sunlight beaming in on us. I like that, but we need to make it a little bit better. There we go. I hope that's a bit better. When they take an animal and they have done x-rays on a weekly basis of rats with broken bones, and then they give them an increase of organic silica that can actually be usable by the body. And that's what bio means. Bioavailable means the body can actually absorb it and use it. So whenever you buy any kind of mineral supplement, whatever you're getting, make sure it's bioavailable, because a lot aren't. And when they aren't, it will just cause a residue in your guts and actually counterbalance the effects that you think it's doing and be more harmful. Hence why taking things that are liquid are much better, because it goes into your bloodstream quicker. And when we talk, I'm still not hugely comfortable, because we're one of the perfectionists and want to make sure we've got the right language, and we know we use the right wrong words and stuff sometimes, and we know that we can be very assertive in the way we say things. And this is all stuff that we're wanting to grow and develop and expand, so that we are a lot more accurate and true to our word, which I've got a lot of light codes going on here for downloads, which which is why we also do this, and so we're benefit. So we're just trying to be very clear for anyone that is watching this, that we're passing the information that we're doing, and that we still get muddled up, but to take from it what resonates with you and to do your own research, and that's what's important. We're like the catalyst leading example type thing, the live reality healing show that they've decided to create. So when they so we said that about increase of organic silica, then that can actually be used by the body. They can see a very rapid knitting of the bones and growing back and forming within 2 weeks. We're going to get onto the 40 milligrams a day of that. Yeah, okay. But we can't do the taste test on the minerals properly, though, because our taste, different alters, networks always change. And so our taste buds change, smells change, and so it's not accurate doing the taste test. That's a bit better maybe there for a second. And then it goes on to the Superman diet. So that can be something, there's lots of websites here. The Superman diet home, detox, the course, the album, opportunities, and they're all the Superman diet type thing. Scientists have research now proving how the living silica from the organo living silica, every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. We so glad every little cell in our body is happy and well. We're so glad every little cell in our body is happy and well. Every little cell in our body is happy. Join in. Cell in our body is well. Every little cell in our body is happy. Every little cell in our body is well. We're so glad every little cell in our body is happy and well. We're so glad every little cell in our body is happy and well. That's our ring tune now, because it's so beneficial to the healing of the cells in the body. And that's from a lady, the Brain Cafe, and she's autistic and does sound healing and all of that as well. So there'll be more information about that there. Like that. Scientists have research now proving how the living silica from the organo living silica stimulates fibroblast activity as it grows into the body, and that stimulates stem cell production, and that's where it helps rejuvenate. Taking living silica into your body on a therapeutic dose, like the 3 ounces a day, the full dose according to organo living silica ongoing. It literally is like a form of embryonic cell therapy. You're putting an element which comes from the youth of the embryo that is only abundant in your body at the beginning of life. You're putting it back in its living state, like it works biologically. So it's activating those other post-cursor of pathways of fibroblast growth factor in stem cells. And this is big. This is very deep. And not only have we got the information that we're passing to you in knowledge form with our intention of the Reiki and the healing and everything else that goes through it, especially us invocation at the start with our sound, We just had one of the sound songs come on that we use, which we use for the younger ones. And we've got the different light code refractions coming in from the sunlight. So we're having a multitude of senses absorbing information. There's the light information, there's the sound information, there's the knowledge academic information, and all the energetics behind it. And this is what produces smoother, faster healing when we're utilizing a multitude of the senses at once. And when we can bring in that sixth multi-sense, energetic sense, which is about, they've got the different around eight different of the claircognizance, clairsentience, clairaudience, those ones. This is then when those happen. There's research showing people around the world who drink waters that are high in silica, who have a greatly reduced level of dementia. Even with 10 milligrams a day, I think there's an 11% reduction in cases of dementia and other mental problems because of silicon and the way it works in the brain and aging and the nervous system of the brain, the central nervous system. And on the other side of the coin, people that are drinking water that doesn't have minerals like magnesium or silica, but it's really high in calcium, they're kind of doing the opposite. They're going more on the aging path with that kind of water. And water, as we know, it holds all memory, all intelligence. So we've got silica, oxygen, water. This is water that we have cleansed with our shungite crystals, purifies yogi, which we were reading last night on our live stuff. Research shows that skeletal diseases such as osteomalacia, soft bones, and osteoporosis, porous bones and or spontaneous fractures, as well as shrinkage, are caused by a calcium deficiency, but do not respond to calcium therapy alone. Of course not, that would be way too easy. Research conducted by noted biophysicists, Louis Kevran, Paris, France, and by Dr. Richard Barmakian, United States, shows that fractured bones did not heal at all when high amounts of calcium were present. They heal fair to poorly when moderate amounts of calcium were present. And this is in bold letters now, bold type. However, they heal extremely well when relatively low amounts of calcium were present with an abundance of silica. When it comes to bone demineralization, a silica deficiency has been shown to be a precursor to calcium deficiency. So, anyway, you can increase bioavailable silica that is used internal in your body to orchestrate all your minerals for growth, for development, for health and elasticity and youth, for strength and vitality and well-being, in prevention of aging and degeneration. Any way you can get silica is important. And Anita Morajami's coming to mind there now, of Dying to Be Me, a great book. She dies of basically all of her organs disintegrating, whatever the word is, from stage 4 cancer. But she has a beyond out of body experience and then comes back, and she describes it so beautifully. And she's coming to light because that's what we've gone through over and over. We're connecting and we're realizing, because before the psych word, our autonomic nervous system was dying, and we kept dying over and over. But because of these beautiful altars and our beautiful mind, we had reprogrammed our mind that we didn't have any out-of-body experiences because we knew the pain that was happening, but we didn't really know we were having them in the first place because of the way the brain separated itself of the altars. And this is all coming to understanding as we're making reconnections and understanding stuff more. But yeah, we've had many near-death experiences to different extremities through the different altars perceptions. And there's the thing of your eyes being closed, you can't see, and then waking up and the eyes being opened. And it's like we have to have so many different, I don't like these languages, but we will get better language that will suit the academic mind and us more, spiritual awakenings. Whereas most people tend to talk about one major one or something, whereas God, they just keep happening over and over. But we were dying, so we've gone through the being able to be in control of our emotions and not step into our abuser and hurt someone else and lose control on that level, which we can. We've been there and done it, and we will kill. primal instinct. Hence why it took 8 people to restrain a body that's physically weak, even more so because she's not eaten for like a week or drank, and because of the way that because of our beautiful powers and our beautiful ways, which I'm still not quite getting, but we're getting more of an understanding. But we can't get the understanding too soon because it's too overwhelming because of the deep trauma and our fears and hating to be seen and heard. Hence why we're isolated and don't see people, because we've attempted to be seen and heard and haven't, and got misunderstood, and it's hurt us more and re-traumatized us more. And so now we're doing it completely on our own to show people out there that we can do it on our own, because there are so many people out there that have to suffer on their own and they don't deserve it. No one deserves it. And that's what catalyzes us and drives us forward, because we want to facilitate those that have no one to understand that they don't need anyone and they can do it on their own. And that when they do it, then that they will get that love that they need because they've managed to give it to themselves first. And yes, okay, we're really getting the emotion out there, aren't we? It's not easy doing it on your own, but that's why I think that's why they put the humour to it and the smile to it, because we have to, don't you? Because if you don't laugh, you're fooped. So as far as silica goes, I would try to learn this while you're already young and you still have silica, so you can really preserve what you've got. But it's still going to help someone in advanced years. And if you get in on a therapeutic rejuvenation silica program, it can make a big difference, a really big difference. But the sooner you start, the better. But it's never too late. And when you bring in, we say meditation, but meditation, it's focusing your energy on one thing, or if you like us, focusing on about 5 at once to occupy at least 5 altars. But singing, it's when you're present in the moment. And so when you bring in that presence in the moment and the visualization, that doesn't have to be, you don't have to be able to see, because we're internally deaf, blind and dumb. But when we went to see someone, she said, well, she's a graphic designer, and she said, well, I don't visually see. If someone says red sports car, I don't produce, like some people say, an image of a red sports car in my head, but I'll hear the whooshing sound. I'll smell the fresh leather. There'll be a color of red. We like that because we do that. It's reflecting the light onto our head. So now what we're doing is what babies do. We're embracing the networks in the brain of when babies first come up to light, which is where sun gazing comes into play, and breatharianism. It's incredible what these most amazing bioorganic computers are capable of. And it's all down to belief systems, whether you believe in it or not. And you don't have to believe in it in such, but you have to be open-minded, because you don't have to believe in something to get something from it. But when we have these limiting belief systems and we're really not going to go into something, then you're not going to get anything. And that's the deepest parts of you, not wanting to love yourself, not wanting to heal, not wanting to be the best version of you that you can be for yourself and everyone around you, to reach that harmonic state of balance. Because healing to us is balance, wholeness in not just oneself, but wholeness as in every system of the body being harmonically in symbiosis and synthesizing together to make this beautiful orchestra. Okay, got that one out. So start when you're as young as possible, but it will even help you if you're old. To start, we're thinking of Benjamin Buttons now as well, and how much more related to us that is. To start right away, you'll get the benefits. But to preserve your body in maximum youth, the sooner you start keeping the transmutation arc in the silica abundance range with the silica therapy, it's on your side. That's why Nassim Haramein's called his crystal the arc, which we want one, but we can't have one because it's like $2,000, but we want one. We'll get one when we've got lots of money, and then we can give away lots of money to people too and eradicate hunger. Okay, guys? Cool. The highest herb in silica is horsetail. Silica is also high, although not in therapeutically high amounts, in gluten-free seed-like grains such as millet, quinoa, amaranth, and buckwheat. We got amaranth in there. We have, haven't we? We have to make that. And we have our quinoa crisps, don't we, too? And we've got some millet. Professor Kavran found a way to extract the silica and make it available to the body. He took young horsetail plants grown in the springtime. And when you do your herbs and lunar living, we've got a post. I think it's on our, I think it's on the Shinto Self Empowerment page. And it shows you that this is when you follow the lunar cycles and harvesting herbs and growing food by the lunes, the lunar cycles and the moon, and the zodiac signs, you pick specific herbs in specific zodiac signs. And that's because specific zodiac signs relate to specific parts of the body. And so, yeah, so you get different benefits and different strengths, whether it be in the root, the stem, the leaves, depending which sign you pick it in, and even at what time of day, or the sunlight, and etc. And you're going into the aromatherapy and the homeopathy there now as well. And again, they'll say that you need to know exactly what dose is in something, and that's why they make the pills, but it's not, it's pharmaceuticals and it's money at the end of the day, because consciousness and nature know how to do it. But if we're not connected to our heart and to our intuition, and to that symbiosis and harmonically orchestrated co-creation between nature and our inner rhythms, then we're not going to know, because we won't be able to know the limitations. And that again is the EDS. EDS dispels from the body really quickly, whereas in someone without EDS, it can build up in the body because the body doesn't dispel stuff that's bad for it. So along with the future of evolution and involution of the brain and brain consciousness, with the autism and the multidimensional thinking, we're getting sidetracked again. Come back. So yeah, he took young horsetail plants grown in the springtime when the tissue is gentle and soft and the silica is in a different state, and did an aqueous extract, a water extract. When that is done, the bioflavonoids that are naturally present in the silica bind to the organic silica at the young state of bloom, of growth, of the plant, and they come out in the water. If you supplement with silica every day, you would experience some beneficial changes quite rapidly. It's going to be different for everybody based on your silica needs and how much they're losing in their age range, essentially. But I think if you're really interested in utilizing the law of transmutation to your advantage, silica is the number one element you want to restore and keep to activate in your system. I did this for about a week or two, and I felt amazing. The skin, elasticity, clogged joints, calmness, energy, immune system. I felt happy. But the main thing is that I felt improvements in my central nervous system and in my brain. I noticed an improvement in sleep that was really substantial, and a reduction in stress loads, which was really positive. I felt upbeat. And that's another thing. We hadn't had slept or had REM sleep for about we'll have to work it out, but about 2 or 3 months or something. And so that really puts you into the deep altered states of consciousness of the different alters. Hence out there stuck in this circular system, logic in present, eyes wide open but couldn't see. I remember in psych ward going down the corridors, eyes were open, but I had to use my hand to navigate the wall for spatial awareness, which is really weird. But that shows the disconnection in the brain. But then the brain can get miswired, called synesthesia, where you see sounds and you hear colour. So that's our genius coming out, because we have all these things that would cause people real fear, but we have learned to accommodate it because we haven't been able to vocalize it. And when we have vocalized it, it's caused such dissonance and pain that we've learned not to vocalize anymore and just do this whole thing on our own. And was it David Beckham, along with the autism, it's really hard to connect with people anyway, let alone then when you do attempt it and you just get it flung back in your face all the time. But that's okay, because now when we connect with people and start relating again, it's going to be on a whole different level, and we're going to keep it to a minority of true, trusted people that are on a similar wavelength of self-awareness and wanting to be the best versions of them, because it's too harmful and too painful for us, and we've still got a lot of healing to do, really. So we can't accommodate our triggers for anyone anymore like we have done for 40 years, because look where it got us. And we're not prepared to do that anymore after all of this effort. And it's for everyone's highest good at the end of the day. I don't know, it would be interesting to see if when we watch this back, of what we see now is what we see when we watch back, because there's this beautiful thing happening over here. Silica and aluminium. There is no shortage of aluminium. And it's got a website here, naturalnews.com/aluminium. Toxicity. There is no shortage of aluminium toxicity in our environment. It's in cookware, beverage containers, foil, secondhand cigarette smoke, cosmetics, sunscreen, chemtrails, and more. For sure, it is in all vaccines. Injecting aluminium bypasses the normal route of eliminating it. And this is why we're no way having that COVID vaccine. I mean, I just know what medication does to us now. It gave us the seizures, and they then gave us more, and it made us do whatever, that we had to be restrained by 8 people and then be put into real states. And then we had to take it again to prove to them that it would send us over the edge again, and that we're doing this on our own with all our alternative natural healing and our tuning forks and oils, etc. We thought the main thing was to get back out into a familiar environment, but the main thing was actually to stay really true. Really true and strong, and knowing in our self, if that makes sense. Oh, yeah, it's a bit better, isn't it? Oh, look, you see Bagheera now. Aluminium accumulates in tissue that doesn't have a rapid cellular turnover. The slow turnover tissues are contained in bone matter, the heart and the brain. The brain and its associated nervous system is where diseases such as Parkinson's, MS, chronic fatigue, and other neurological and autoimmune diseases manifest. And every different part of the body has a cell. It's all cells, and those cells have a lifespan. So it takes something like, I don't know these now, but it's like, let's say, for your bones to be a whole completely new set of cells, 3 years. For your brain, 7 years. For your heart, for your skin cells, 2 weeks. All those are wrong numbers, but you'll get my drift on what we're trying to get across there. Aluminium toxicity corresponds to the marked increase of neurological diseases. There is a relationship between silica and the rate of aluminium concentration in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. Much research points to the fact that a deficiency of silica in one's diet causes an increase of aluminium retained in one's body, and its ultimate accumulation in areas of the brain. Silica plays an important role, wet speak there, apologies, in helping the body to eliminate these accumulations of aluminium, which are a causative factor in certain forms of senility, including Alzheimer's disease. How to maximize silica absorption. And once our body's done what it needs to do and got itself up to an optimum state, it's then going to be the silica contact that grows back our teeth and whatever else needs to grow back on that kind of level. At least that's what the younger ones tell us. And I'm starting to believe it more, because I was really skeptical, but we've all got to work together, and they know their shit, basically, now that I'm starting to understand them more. How does the biological transmutation work? What's making the wheel turn? It's enzymes. Where do the enzymes come from? They're coming from the gut brain, the abdominal brain, healing the gut and the gut-brain connection, restoring the missing microflora, the beneficial bacteria that is supposed to live in the abdominal brain, 3 to 7 pounds of good bacteria. And once you do that, you could have a calcium deficiency, and it would be corrected because of the bacteria in your gut when you eat just green plant foods that have silica in them. But you can't just eat green plant foods because it's on the fridge. Reread that one if that one's in there. But it's the story of the guy that did the grape juice detox, because fruits have your antioxidants, and your antioxidants come first to get rid of the toxins and the free radical damage. But the greens rebuild the muscles. But when he went on the green juice diet with his friend died, and he was bedridden for 3 years. So you can't just live on greens, but you can just live on fruits. But in the presence of a healthy gut, when you have a high, well, at least that's what we make from that. But maybe there are other circumstances involved that affected it. Maybe. You never really know, do you? No. That was our assertion then again, wasn't it, from some of us? Yeah. Oh, bless you. But in the presence of a healthy gut, when you have a high level of beneficial bacteria in your gut and you're eating these silica foods, your uptake of silica is going to happen dramatically. The beneficial bacteria, they produce the teeth of digestion, the enzymes, and the enzymes convert the silica in the food into the most readily usable form of calcium. So, the best calcium you're ever going to get, and there are so many different forms, the best form is always going to come from an internal biological transmutation from conversion of silica. I know it's fab, isn't it? I think the first time we read this, we kind of understood it on a level, but not much at all. But we're understanding it heaps now, aren't we? Of course, probiotics, good digestive health is important. There's definitely a correlation in all the studies I found. People with digestive problems, especially with low hydrochloric acid levels, have much higher counts of osteoporosis and calcium imbalances with people who have low hydrochloric acid levels. If your ecosystem is out of balance in your gut and you don't have the good bacteria, you're not going to biologically transmute silica into calcium. You're not going to convert minerals the way you're supposed to. The liquid minerals that we have just been amazing because they have bits of information on the back as well. So they've helped the younger ones heaps. And because we have digestive issues, we also put them in the bath so that we're absorbing it through our skin, because one can absorb about 60% of things from the skin. And if you've seen on our Neve Deborah Snowflake Coleman channel, there's loads of their there's a couple of their hydrotherapy baths which we tuning fork up. So we tune up the water with our tuning forks, be it whether it's the solfeggio set, Fibonacci set, the planetary set, the organs, the chakras, etc. And also there's been studies done, not that they change it yet because I've worked for a company for people with autism, but the huge impact of people with autism and their diet and what they eat. And we're attempting to get off all of that, but we don't attempt to give it up. We attempt to add good things in for our sweet tooth, for the rest of it, for that thing that we said yesterday of add things to, not to give things up. And that was in what we read out yesterday. What did we read out yesterday, guys? Oh, okay, it's not coming to us, but yeah. I'm going to read that again because I'm not sure where we're at and it seemed important. Of course, probiotics, good digestive health is important. There's definitely a correlation in all studies I've found. People with digestive problems, especially with low hydrochloric acid levels, have much higher counts of osteoporosis and calcium imbalances with people who have low hydrochloric acid levels. If your ecosystem is out of balance in your gut and you don't have the good bacteria, you're not going to biologically transmute silica into calcium. You're not going to convert minerals the way you're supposed to. We had read it all, I think. How to add silica to our diet. The Orgono Living Silica is the #1 best silica product we have. In 1957, so Orgono I don't know if Orgono is a certain type, but it might be a company maybe that makes it. In 1957, the scientists invented the first version of Orgono Living Silica. It was called G1 in Europe. And how they did this, they found certain bacteria that can ferment sand, silica sand, like hard rock crystallized silicon. in an element like sand, the bacteria will actually eat the sand down and ferment it and create a byproduct called a silicon oxygen molecule byproduct. And then they find a way to stabilize and molecularly and chemically bond to water. So basically, this monomethylsilenitriol is, that's a long word, monomethylsilenitriol is a silicon oxygen molecule with a proprietary process bound to just water. It's making us think of the people that eat glass. Like, we understand so much now that anything anyone does is their subconscious attempting to the best of its ability, meaning their developmental of consciousness awareness in them, to get what it needs. So some people eat glass. It's like, why would they do that? And it's because their body's craving silica, because silica is sand and glass is made from sand. So this organo-living silica is like a spring water. It does go through a proprietary laboratory process in order to create this bacteria that ferments the sand and then stabilize the silicon oxygen molecule, and then they bond it to water. And then it's in the bottle. And there's no preservative in organo-living silica, and it doesn't go bad, and you don't have to refrigerate it, which is amazing. Organo-living silica is the biggest combination of nature and science in a gift that we can take as an anti-aging supplement that we have on the market that is the safest product. This is a super safe substance, and these scientists have unlocked a key for us to extract this element, silica, and get it into our bodies as adults and get it to work like we did in the spring of youth, of bloom, of health and life, which was almost impossible to do with any other food substance. Avoid the more processed silicic acids, like the biosil. This is a compound of processed silica and water, and these do work to a certain degree, but it's actually the worst. In my opinion, probably the worst and most synthetic and possibly dangerous silica you can start taking. Upon more research, I found people who had heart palpitations and insomnia and different reactions. I didn't feel like I was getting full potential results, even when I was doing the maximum dose. The best form is the organo-living silica. This is a monomethyl silicitrate. Basically, it's a potassium salt that converts into a readily usable form of silica in the body. So you want to avoid the crystallized, hard metallic silicas or any supplement company that says they're selling an ionic silica mineral supplement. No ionic silica. So if we want to add silica into our diet, the place to start is the organo-living silica. Start doing your mouth shots. Take it daily. Vegetal silica, which is an aqueous silica extract from horsetail plants, similar to the extract that Professor Kevran originally made, is also a great and effective way to add silica to your diet. Other silica foods and supplements such as the almost super greens can be added along with vitamin C and boosting your enzyme production, especially if you're over 27. It's a great idea to take systemic enzymes because they're catalyzing the conversion of silica. They're boosting it. My recommendation for silica therapy, a generous amount, a full label dose. But to take a full label dose, 6 tablespoons a day, which would be 3 ounces, and up to 8 ounces a day, and to get high silica foods in the diet, such as the Superman grains. So part of my silica therapy with the BED system, capital letters, the BED system, has come from the use of high quality, gluten-free, protein, seed-like grains. The millet, the quinoa, the amaranth, the buckwheat. But all of these grains are high in silica and you can rotate them around. It's great to take an ounce or 2 straight in the mouth and hold it. Massage it with your tongue inside the mucosa of your upper and lower lip. You can feel it absorbing, and as it's absorbing, you can start to feel the effects. Now, if you mouth dose the full legal recommended dose of 3 ounces a day, 6 tablespoons, if you did that every day, I think you would experience some beneficial changes quite rapidly. It's going to be different for everybody based on your silica needs and how much they're losing in their age range. I got inspired for no reason at all about a year ago to try a higher dose. I started taking out 8 ounces a day. When you take systemic enzymes and you keep the sugar down long term or avoid it completely for a while, and you have probiotics populating the intestines, which are now producing more enzymes out of the gut to get more nutrients out of our food and to enhance biological transmutation, then you're really, really working. This site is part of the Superman Diet 2015, all rights reserved, privacy. All content posted on this site is commentary or opinion and is protected under free speech. The Superman Diet is not responsible for content written by contributing authors. The information on this site is provided for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional advice of any kind. The Superman Diet assumes no responsibility, nor do we, for the use of misuse of this material. Your use of this website indicates your agreement to these terms and those published here. All trademarks, registered trademarks and service marks mentioned on this site are the property of their respective owners. The statements made on this website have not been evaluated by the FDA. The information published on this site is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The information provided by this website and or this company is not a substitute for a face-to-face consultation with your physician and should not be construed as individual medical advice. The entire contents of this website are based upon the opinions of the author unless otherwise noted. The information on this website is Saturn time. The information, we're talking about Saturn material here. The information on this website is not intended to replace a one-on-one relationship with a qualified healthcare professional and is not intended as medical advice. It is intended as a sharing of knowledge and information from the research and experience of the author and his community. The author encourages you to make your own healthcare decisions based upon your research and in partnership with a qualified healthcare professional. The Superman Diet will attempt to keep all objectionable messages of this site off this site. However, it is impossible to review all messages immediately. All messages expressed on the site, including comments posted to blog entries, represent the views of the author exclusively, and the Superman Diet will not be held responsible for the content of any message. By agreeing to these rules, you warrant that you will not post any messages that are obscene, vulgar, sexually orientated, hateful, threatening, or otherwise violative of any laws. And that's good because that's what we agree with too. So yeah, that was still quite a long one, not quite as long as yesterday. But yeah, massively insightful. And I think not tomorrow because we choose and want to do it's tonight that the moon goes void, of course, at 10 p.m. and it's only for a couple of hours until just gone midnight. So that means that after Virgo comes Libra. So the moon transits into Libra tomorrow. And so we'll be doing the Libra moon reading, and we do a couple at a time now. So we'll be doing that live on our Shinto Self-Empowerment page and Facebook, and then we'll do a pre-recorded one that will come out when it transits into Scorpio. So it'll probably be the day after that we read out that information on the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome to do with the cartilage, the tendons, the ligaments, and minerals. So we're going up silica, minerals, the roads, the lorries, and then it'll be the supplements that we take and why. So yeah, this is great stuff to get back. So I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you've picked up some information that can help you to do your own research to find out what you need to help you start youngening your age as you get older. The expansion and the contraction at the same time. Namaste. Tout à l'heure. Au revoir. Adios, amigos.